All right. We are going to work on question number 7 from the Study Nova assignment. It wasn't really an assignment. It was just something I sent for you guys to look over if you needed extra practice before our test on Friday. So this is from the Algebra quiz from the MathSL course for IB in the StudyNova.com website. So this is question 7, which is below question 8, but no one's judging. So what it tells us is the sum of the first 6 terms. So as I'm reading this question, I'm going to start writing down what I think is important. So the sum of the first 6 terms of a sequence is 39.75. And also the 7th term is 6/5 times the 2nd term. And our job is to find the first term, so what's that, and the common difference, what's that. So I found it interesting because normally in an IB style question, what they would indicate to you what type of sequence you're dealing with. And this question didn't explicitly tell you, but because we are asked to find the common difference, then we know that this has to be an arithmetic sequence. So we know it's an arithmetic sequence, which is very important because those are the formulas we're going to have to use as we start to set this problem up. So 100% of the time, okay, maybe 98% of the time, when I see a problem like this in IB, I know that I'm going to have to set up simultaneous equations or a system of equations. Anytime they're giving you like something about a term and something about a sum, they want you to do a system of equations. And so when we have a system of equations, we are working in 2 variables. So there are systems that have more than that, more variables than that. But for this level of math class, because they took matrices out, we only work in 2 variables. So guess which are the 2 variables we're going to be looking for? U sub 1 and D, the common difference. So I'm going to first start rewriting each of these equations in terms of these 2 variables, what I'm looking for here. So I'm going to start on the term equation just because I want to. So what do we know about the 7th term of an arithmetic sequence? Well, we know for sure that we can get to it by taking the first term and adding 6 common differences, right? So if we have the first term, we know that the 7th term is 6 common differences down the line. And because the 7th term is written in terms of the 2nd term, I'm also going to rewrite the 2nd term in terms of the 2 variables here. So the 2nd term is just the first term plus 1 common difference. So I have now rewritten each of the U7 and U2 in terms of U sub 1 and D. So I'm now going to put all of that together. So U sub 7 is equal to 6/5 of U sub 2, which we rewrote as U sub 1 plus D. U sub 7 is also equal to U sub 1 plus 6D. So I'm now going to take these 2 equations and equate them. So I have U sub 1 plus 6D, which is what U sub 7 is equal to, equals 6/5 times U sub 1 plus D. And so now I've taken this equation that had 2 unknowns that were neither of the unknowns that I was searching for, and I've rewritten it so that it's in terms of U sub 1 and D. Great. We're going to come back to that in a second. The second equation, which is technically the first one in the problem, so S sub 6, because this is an arithmetic sequence, I know that the nth partial sum is always equal to n divided by 2 times U sub 1 plus U sub n. And U sub 1 is one of my unknowns, but U sub n is not. And for this problem, I know what n is equal to. It's equal to 6, right? So this U sub n is actually a stand-in for U sub 6. And I can rewrite U sub 6 the same way we did U sub 7 and U sub 2. It's U sub 1 plus 5 common differences. So this is what I'm going to substitute in for u sub 6. So I know that s sub 6 is equal to 6, that's what n is equal to, 6 divided by 2, times the first u sub 1 in the equation plus u sub 6, which is equal to u sub 1 plus 5 common differences. Alright, so last thing I'm going to do is substitute in. I don't have another equation for s sub 6. I actually know what it's equal to. So 39.75 equals 3 times, I'm going to simplify this a little bit, 2 u sub 1 plus 5d. Now look, two equations that were born from the two equations in the problem, but I've rewritten both of these so that they're only in terms of the variables that I'm solving for. It's very beneficial for me, so I'm glad I did that. This is exactly what a system of equations is. It's two separate equations that have the same unknowns, and we can pit them against each other to help us solve for those unknowns. So there's a few different ways of solving a system of equations: graphing, elimination, and substitution. So chances are we wouldn't have a calculator for this question. I'm not sure, it doesn't specify here, but it doesn't seem like this is a calculator question. It seems like it's a thinking question. But if it was a calculator question, I would just chug both of these equations, plug and chug both of these equations into my graphing calculator. But before I could do that, I would need to solve for one of the variables. So I'm going to have to do that for the method I choose. Anyways, I'm going to choose elimination, and I think that's the most, no, I'm going to choose substitution. I think that's the most often used method of solving a system that we do algebraically. So let's do that. So before I do that, though, I'm going to simplify these a little bit more. And by that I mean I'm just going to get rid of the parentheses. So I'm going to do a little substitution. So I have 39.75 equals, boop, boop, 6 times u sub 1 plus 15 common differences. Okay? Over here, I have u sub 1 plus 6d equals, and I know it's a fraction, but remember, we're not going to poop our pants when we see fractions. It's fine. What's a fraction? It's just a fraction. Fractions are our friends. So it's 6/5 u sub 1 plus 6/5 times d. All right. And you see my brain working right now. I'm trying to decide which one I believe is going to be easier to solve. So I'm solving for one of the variables. And you may have a different opinion here, but I'm actually going to solve this equation. Because it's more complicated, I want to go ahead and take care of it now. Instead of solving this and having to plug it in multiple times, I'm going to just simplify this one. See how there's nothing extra over here? Every single term has one of our unknowns in it, whereas this side, there's just a little extra guy. So my brain is like, let's just simplify this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 6/5 of u sub 1 over to this side, and I'm going to subtract 6d to that side. So I'm pushing the variables together. So this would be, wait, I already did this, didn't I? Maybe I didn't. Anyways, let's see. I'm gonna change my mind. I want to move this u sub 1 over. If I can keep them positive, I'm gonna keep them positive. So I'm gonna subtract u sub 1 from both sides. Boop. 6/5 minus 5/5, 1/5 of u sub 1. And then I'm gonna subtract 6/5 d. 6/5 d. Think about this one. 6 minus 6/5. What's that going to be? 24. 24/5. Yeah. A little math magic. All right, and then finally, I'm going to solve for one of these. Guess which one it's going to be? I'm going to multiply both sides by 5. And I get u sub 1 is 24d. Right? Boop, boop, 24d, boop, boop, u sub 1. And this is great because I'm going to take this u sub 1 and I'm going to substitute it back into my other equation. That's called substitution. So I have 39.75 equals 6 times u sub 1, which is 24d, plus 15d. All right? Simplify. So I'm going to distribute 6 times 24D. I'm going to add 15D, and I get 159D. Final step to solve for D. Divide both sides. And we end up getting D is equal to 0.2514. Great. That was one of the things we needed to know. The other thing we need to know is U sub 1. So if U sub 1 is 24 times D, then U sub 1 is 24 times 1/4, meaning U sub 1 is equal to 6. So I have my two answers, right? My two answers, finding these two little babies. I needed U sub 1 and I needed the common difference, and I have done that. So here's my work. If you want to see it all together, there she is. Fantastic. All right, so that one was fun, and as I've mentioned a few times in class, these types of simultaneous or system of equations are definitely going to show up on an exam. Are they on our test on Friday? I don't know. Maybe so. Guess we'll find out. Until then, keep studying. Do those Study Nova problems. Go on Cognitive. You can go in and do extra practice problems. You don't have to just do the ones I assign you. Okay? All right. See you Friday.